Well, hey there, all you cool cats and kittens. Welcome to another episode of the Age Groupies Podcast. I'm Mike Ergo, and along with my co-host Lindsay Hiken, we're here to talk to you about all things related to endurance sports from an amateur athlete perspective. We talk about how to have fun along the way and make our sports a little less intimidating. You can follow the show on Instagram at Age Groupies, join our Age Groupies page on Facebook, and look us up by name, Lindsay Hiken and Mike Ergo on Strava. If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas, feel free to email us, agegroupies@gmail.com. If you guys like the show, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
I want to talk to you about UCAN Superstarch. UCAN is what I consume on the race course and for long or intense training sessions. Now, it's different than any sports nutrition out there because they use superstarch. Superstarch is a complex carbohydrate that doesn't spike blood sugar, delivering a slow and steady release of glucose into the bloodstream. Stable blood sugar provides steady energy to both the muscles and the brain and controls cravings caused by blood sugar lows. I recently used this to complete the Pandemic Man 70.3 using only UCAN, and let me tell you guys, I was surprised by how well it worked. Pleasantly surprised. I didn't need to use any gels, anything, just UCAN. And I felt great. I didn't feel bloated, didn't feel hungry, didn't have any of those intense cravings I get on the race course a lot. So I want you to try it out too. Learn about why you should fuel the pursuit with UCAN and save 10% on all your orders by using the link in the show notes or entering the promo code UCANInspireMe at checkout. That's UCANINSPIREME at checkout. Thanks. Awesome. Lindsay, what is up? How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. And I think that's a great way to put it. All right. I wouldn't say great, but I wouldn't say terrible either.
Yeah, same. That's weird.
Yeah, this coronavirus shit is dragging on and getting a little old.
Yeah, I think everyone's got a little Rona fatigue happening.
Yeah.
And
you know what hit me though is that, I think we set the goalposts or the finish line to this whole coronavirus pandemic to the end of 2020, and like 2021 was going to magically start off better. January 1st, all the problems would be solved. And we know that's not the case. And so I think that the realization has hit me. And it's like, okay, we moved the goalposts a little farther. This never-ending run just got a little longer.
Right. You think you're in an Ironman, but you're actually at Ultraman.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wait, what? How far is this run? Yeah. And I'm not a pandemic denier. So I'm not out here just going like, there's nothing to worry about. I'm actually don't want to get this. I mean, I have a few little pod people that I ride with but we don't, get up on each other or, go inside each other's house or anything like that. But, it is, even with that, I would say, it is starting to wear on me. The only person I know that it's not wearing on is my significant other, because he is an introvert who rides, an average of probably 400 miles a week by himself. So he's like, I don't know what the problem is. Everyone just needs to stay home. I'm like, other people need people. You're the only one.
Yes, exactly. The rest of us need some FaceTime with people, real FaceTime.
Yeah. I know, as extroverts, I want to get out there with my peeps and do. And it's funny because we have a break from work coming up where they just close our firm, which is amazing because it doesn't count towards your vacation time. They just they just close the doors for a week, so that's an additional week of vacation, which is awesome. And I was super looking forward to going over the hill from Half Moon Bay and riding with Silicon Valley Tri Club. Their Saturday, because they kind of were doing Saturday rides again, socially distanced, but meeting up, and I was like, yay. And of course, yesterday was the post, we're not going to be doing those because we can't do them now. And I'm like, dang it.
Yeah.
So I hear you. What are you doing to stay mentally, emotionally healthy in the face of pandemic fatigue?
You know what? I got a huge boost from my friend Brandon, a guy I was in the Marine Corps with. He organized a team of us, a bunch of Marines who were on a little group chat. Guys, we all served together, and he organized doing a 50K over a month, cumulative 50K.
Running?
And yeah, running.
Okay.
So it's, about 30 miles, so about a mile a day. And so far I've just been doing dog walks for a little over a mile or two. I haven't actually started the running part of it yet.
Yeah.
But what's nice about it is it gets my ass out of the house and gets me moving, because I have been not motivated. I have not been motivated to train really at all. I finally got back on the bike. What helped,
Okay.
my coach and I had a talk, and he's like, what would you say to someone in your shoes right now if you were the coach? And I'd say, get the fuck out of the house. Go do something, even if it's only for a few minutes, but move forward, and don't just stand still. And so that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I restarted up with my coach, Wes, who we've had on the show, who did the Hoodoo 300. Because I have goals for the end of next year, hopefully, God willing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought now's a good time to start building that base. And also it gives me some structure, like, oh, okay, I'll get up and go do it, because it's on my training peaks and I want to make that little box go green. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
As opposed to like yesterday, I just did not feel it. It was been super windy in Half Moon Bay. I'm an asthmatic old lady with bad allergies. Actually, I've got a bunch of health problems. I was going to talk about them in a little bit, but I really think that some of them are attributed to me being a former barfly, like smoky, drinky old lady. I mean, I wasn't old at the time, but
yeah,
it's like I have asthma and allergies, and I think it's because I was a smoker. Like I used to smoke cigarettes regularly, like a pack a day at some points. Like that's
me too.
A
fist bump right there, because I was
boom.
I was a pack a day or so in the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
did that for about 4 or 5 years.
I think I've talked about it on the show. Like I would still work out though. Like I would smoke a cigarette in the parking lot of the Y and then go into the gym and do like cardio kickboxing, just smelling like an ashtray. But I now have asthma, and I'm just I get sinus infections all the time. I think it's like just residual. Like I just beat my body up, and now some of the stuff isn't functioning great. So anyway, it's been super windy in Half Moon Bay, and whenever it's like that, my sinuses like immediately close and I start wheezing. So
really,
oh my God, my asthma gets so bad. Because it blows around whatever stuff that I'm allergic to, like dust, pollen, whatever.
Okay. I was thinking if it was windy, it'd be blowing more air into your lungs. That's why I'm not a scientist, because that's stupid.
It does, but it's blowing the stuff that's causing inflammation, so that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Think of it. Yeah. So I and I have, sleep apnea, so I use a mask. So to sleep with.
Those masks are crazy looking. I remember.
Oh my God.
I remember the first time I saw one. I was on a retreat with a bunch of vets, and this is a work retreat. So we were up near Yuba City, and I wake up in the middle of the night. I hear this, sucking sound, and I see these blinking blue lights. And in the middle of my sleep, I'm like, "Oh no, is someone getting evacuated? Are they like on a stretcher? Are they giving them like life support?"
Right,
And
you're back in Afghanistan.
I walk over, and it's my boss, and he's got this mask on. I'm like, he looks like a fighter pilot. Totally. And I just look at this like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Hence why my partner and I have a loving long-term relationship, been together 10 years, sleep in different rooms.
Yeah.
And when I go to bed at night, it's and I got this thing with this long tube attached to my face. But what happens when it gets windy and I can't breathe well is that even with the mask on, like I don't sleep well because I'm too congested or whatever. And so my sleep apnea kind of happens even though I have the mask on. So I like startle awake a bunch. So like 2 nights ago, that was going on. And then I fell back asleep. And then my young dog started barking in her crate, which she never does. Like never. She just goes, she loves to be in there. She's like, goes to sleep. And so, well, not really barking, kind of whining. And so, she had thrown up earlier in the evening. And I was like, oh no, she's sick. So then I get up and I take her outside, the whole thing. So, so yesterday I just was like, well, I got, 4 hours of broken up sleep. And I'm studying for the CPA exam, and I had a day off to study because I've got a section tomorrow, and I'm exhausted, and I'm not going to do, I didn't want to, if it had just been me, I would not have gotten up and worked out at all. No freaking way. I was just on the pity pot, and I also had a pounding headache. I mean, I was just like, this is fucked up. But my Training Peaks was like, Bing, you have a workout today. And it was only a 3-mile run. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to drive over to Huddard Park to one of my favorite trails. And I've got a loop in there that's a little longer than 3, but not much. And it makes me happy. And I went and did it. And I literally got back to my car and my headache was gone. Now, if you look at my Strava, you'll see it was slow as hell because I was wheezing like a motherfucker on the trail. But changed my whole outlook on life, and so yeah, having the coach kind of just give you a little nudge. And it's funny because he knows I'm taking the exam this week. So instead of titling my workouts normally it'll be endurance, blah, 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 or, max effort. He'll kind of say a little bit of what the workout's going to be. Every single one of my workouts says mental health break.
I like
this
that.
week. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're fortunate enough to work with a coach right now, it's, it's very fortunate because you can, I think they help motivate us during this time, and we will get back to racing at some point.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. We have an extended off season, and I traditionally have not been good at navigating the off season, and so I think a lot of athletes, we look like, okay, in the off season we're planning our next races, but right now, even if we're planning our next races, there's a lot of doubt as to if they will actually happen, especially for the spring ones. Yeah. And so I think we're all trying to, really square our heads back on because they're spinning. But I think, just like any off season, you find ways to cross train, or you find ways to just do things you either neglected or haven't done as much. And I've been doing that. To answer your earlier question of how I'm staying sane, I'm taking my son, we go fishing about once a week and go fishing out in the river right where I live now. So it's cool. And I'm just spending a lot of time taking the family camping a few times.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Getting out in nature is so good for our mental health. It's good for kids too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other thing about continuing to work out, as part of the mental health stuff, but also physical, is that, Wes had said to me, well, races aside, what would you want to be ready for? Would you want to be ready to go do a hard ride with your friends, a long ride? Would you want to be ready to go do a long mountain bike ride or go run, a trail that's challenging? Would you want to be ready to just do that if you got the time and the inspiration, and so I'm kind of working with that too. It's there are races that may or may not happen, but if they don't happen, there's also the whole idea of hey, well, maybe I'll go run a different trail that I haven't run before. And because I'm not sitting on the couch, I mean, if I'm starting from zero, that gets even further away, right? It's well, I'm not going to go do the Dipsy trail. I haven't done shit, so I can't go. But it's if you've been working out a little bit, you have that, there's freedom, to go explore things if whatever, race plan you have, goes to hell, there's so much outside that you could check out that's different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And if you have the base fitness, you can do it. Otherwise, the motivation to do it might not be there because it's like, well, I mean.
Mm-hmm. And
can't go,
what I like about 2020, and there's not too many things.
I was going to say you like something about 2020.
Yeah. What I liked about it is that I got to do 3 self-supported races. And I found a crew of people, 3 other guys to do these races with. That was fun, making up our own races. And so I know that we're going to do at least one of them next year. And if the summer races get canceled, we'll do another one. If the fall races get canceled, we'll do a third one. So it's nice having a backup plan. And I think it's something anyone can do. We had, obviously talking about self-supported races, Brenna did a full Ironman, and that was awesome. She had a crew of people supporting her who are excited because, like, she brought up a great point. Now that we don't have many races or any races going on, that you can probably find people to crew because they want to be part of something. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who like to go to these and volunteer and participate. Like there's that aspect of it too, and they're missing that as well. It's not just athletes, there's the other side of it. So yeah, it's self-supported. Speaking of which, we've talked about this on the show, and we are following through. We are going to do an Age Groupies challenge for 2021. And we're going to deliver the challenge via Strava. So if you are a listener and you are on Strava, which, if you're not on Strava, just get on Strava. It's free. You can do a free one.
Just do it.
Just do it. You don't even have to look at it. Like if you don't want to, feel, whatever, competitive with people, you don't even have to look at other people. You could just go on there and then look for Age Groupies. Did we put the link yet online for the club?
The link will go up as we release this podcast. The link will go up.
Sounds good. So we have a link for the club, and but you can also just search in Strava for Age Groupies and join our little club, and you'll be able to see other Age Groupies. First of all, what they're doing, get some inspiration from them, and we can cheer each other on as we continue to self-motivate to work out. But also, so we're going to do, it's basically a year-long challenge broken into 12 months. And it's a sprint, our version of a sprint triathlon a month. But you don't have to do them. You don't have to do each leg back to back to back. You can do one a week if you wanted to, because they're individual. So it would be a 1,000 yard swim once a month. So like we can all get, a reservation at a pool at least once in a month. Or open water swim. So the goal would be to kind of like compare your efforts over month. So if you want to open water swim, go for it. But I plan to do all of them open water swim then. So for me, I'm going to be doing a pool. And so 12,000, I just said 12,000 yard swim. We're not going to get many takers. Swim. We're not going to get many takers.
Awesome stuff. Yeah.
1,000 yard swim. So, and this will start January. So 1,000 yard swim once a month, a 15-mile bike ride once a month. That could be a trail or a road. I'm going to do a road route, and we recommend doing the same route. So find a route that you enjoy,
so you can really compare times.
Mm-hmm. So you can compare times. So like Marie Kondo, your route. If there's a route that is 15 miles, but you freaking hate it, well, unless that's like something that you want to overcome is the hatred for it. But I know a little route that I enjoy. It's rolling, so I could use my tri-bike. And I'm going to just do that route.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little 15 miler. So 15-mile ride once a month for 12 months. and then a 3-mile run. So again, it could be a trail run or it could be road, and try to find a loop that you would like for 3 miles.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to throw a challenge out for, I know some of our listeners might not have access to pools, or they might not have access to even bikes, because we have some listeners who are newer to the sport. Do the run. You can do the run.
Yeah, you can do all 3 or you could do one leg. Yeah.
And extra points for people who are creative and throw in 1 or 2 different events. You know, if it's thrown on a rucksack and rucking for a little while, that's cool. If it's paddleboarding, that's awesome. Whatever it is. Although if it's paddleboarding, you could probably swim too, right?
I mean, if you got a paddleboard, you better be able to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can personalize your challenge. There, on Strava Club, you'll see when you join the Age Groupies Club, it does put all the athletes in there so you can see each other and just what we're doing on a daily basis. But then it'll also, identify our when you've met the challenge each month. So that's great. And, we're super excited to share this adventure with you. We just talked about how we need motivation. Everyone needs motivation, especially, because I feel like we all do have a little bit of Rona fatigue, and, endurance sports, are, and the community around endurance sports are like a big part of us staying healthy and sane. And so this is another way for us to connect with you guys and have a challenge. And, for me, my goal is I have a time that a run pace that I would like to get to my 3 mile. I want to get my 3 mile down to this specific run pace, which I'm loath to share right now.
Yes.
Because I'm it's a stretch goal for me. But, so it just gives me a little bit of a way to kind of gear up every month. I'm trying to shave off a little time, and
yeah.
And you don't have to do it the way, so if you're new and you're shave off time, I can't even run 3 miles. No worries. Start walking. Maybe your goal is to just run the 3 miles by the end of 12 months for the first time. You can start out by walking, and then you can power walk, then you can walk, jog, then you know what I mean? You can make it your own. Mike, are you going to be carrying heavy weight? Is that what you're saying with this rucksack, or what are you?
I'm thinking for people who don't have a bike, or they don't have access to a pool, to throw in a different event.
I see.
As a
yeah,
triathlon.
that's a good idea. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's great.
For me, triathlon is going to be traditional swim, bike, run. For some other people, it might be yoga, ruck, run, or whatever it is. So
yeah, and you can share it, and it'll be on the page. So if you join the club and you're doing other items, it'll still show up within the club activity, as long as you post your activity on Strava. But Strava itself, I think, will actually mark down when you've finished the challenge parameters that we've set of the swim, bike, run. But also, like I said, if you want to just do one of the 3 events, if you're just kind of starting out and you're not ready for multi-sport, maybe your whole goal is just the run portion. That's great, and it'll show up on the board. Yeah, we want you to participate. So share the link. We'll share the link. Go check it out, and then share it with other people, because they don't have to be avid listeners of Age Groupies to join in the challenge. They may just be another athlete that that could use some motivation for the year.
Yeah, and especially if you are the endurance person in your circle of friends, and you don't have many other people to do it, this is a way to connect with other endurance junkies, endurance people. So we'll connect with each other. Or to turn
some regular people into endurance people.
Get them hooked.
You could take some of your friends that don't do anything, who are going to literally, they're going to make a New Year's resolution to get in shape. You can be like, okay, I've got this great idea. You get on Strava. You're going to do this 3 mile run challenge with me, and you can start by walking, and we'll do this loop, and we'll meet the same time every month or whatever. And maybe get some of these friends that you have that are always saying they're going to get in shape and kind of fall off, help them stay consistent for the year and turn them into a new endurance friend for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking forward to this. I've hardly looked at my Strava. I forget I have it. So
yeah.
And if you're not a fan of Strava, that's okay. And in fact, one of the names I proposed for this show when Lindsay and I started, when she invited me to be a co-host, one of the names I proposed was "Fuck Your Strava." Because
we almost changed Age Groupies to "Fuck Your Strava." Yes,
those would have been fun T-shirts.
Strava does have, that's true. We could still do it, Age Groupies : fuck your Strava. But I mean, yes, Strava has good and bad things about it. I have friends who are like, oh, it's hard for me because I am a competitive person. And when it lets me know that someone took my, beat me on the segment or something, it freaks me out. I, of course, don't have an issue with that because I don't really care. I'm not really looking at that. I don't even know my own times on segments. I don't really care. So the thing about it is it might give you so you can turn off notifications, first of all. So you're not going to get an email telling you. So that's one thing. The second thing is when you go into Strava, if you don't have to drill down into activities to see what the segments were. Like I just look at mine. I literally post the title of it and then put a picture if I took a picture. And then I go into my friends and I just give them kudos on all their workouts. Like that's literally all I do. And, yeah, I mean, so that's a way for me to stay sane. I don't necessarily want to know if this friend or that friend is like slightly faster than me on a segment, because then that's going to encourage me to try to beat them and make me have feelings about myself if I can or cannot do that. You know what I mean? So
long story short, use the competitive stuff if that works for you. And if it doesn't, just compete against yourself.
Yeah. If it makes you crazy, just don't, you can just not look at it and turn off your notifications. Join our club and see all the silly stuff we're doing and post pictures with your workouts, your Age Groupies workout, so that we can see you and what you're doing. I'd love to see your faces, especially since none of us can see each other in person.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a good way to do it. Okay. So enough about that. What else are we going to talk about? Oh, I had something I wanted to share.
Yeah.
But because, I share all my personal stuff on the podcast because why not? So along with my other bullcrap health stuff, I just was diagnosed as pre-diabetic, and I'm really close to the type 2 number, like where they want to put you on medication and whatnot.
Oh, wow. How did you get diagnosed with that? Like what led up to that?
Yeah, I've been feeling, I've shared on the podcast before, like, I've been feeling not totally myself in my body for the last couple of years. Like there was some weight gain that was like unusual. And then there was just fatigue. And given my age, a lot of times they're just like, oh, you're just becoming an old lady. That's what happens kind of deal. And I was like, all right. But at some point I'm like, I don't think that's it. There's something else up. And my doctor was like, okay, we're going to do a bunch of blood tests. And so she did, and she was checking for thyroid issues, but she ran a bunch of other tests too. And she came back, she called me and she was like, hey, you are pre-diabetic and you're really close to the line of being having type 2 diabetes. And so you really need to, and this was where I was like, this is what she said, you really, really need to exercise and eat healthy. I was like, well, what else you got? Because I'm already doing that. It's not like, so, because everyone equates type 2 with obesity, which obviously that's not my deal. but there's a bunch of other things. Turns out, African Americans and Native Americans have a higher rate of becoming diabetic over age of 45. And I'm both of those race groups along with white. So, that could be a thing. I don't have a lot of diabetes in my family, but my mom was diagnosed as diabetic in her mid 50s. So I guess it's just something that happened. But the thing about it is I'm trying to avoid meds and have been told, exercise and eat healthy. And I'm like, well, gosh, that's like pretty much what I do. But I've been doing some research and talking to other people I know, like either in the medical field or Heidi Buttery, friend of the show, and she's been on Nutritionist. She, wrote up a big thing for me with her thoughts and shared some. She's worked with diabetic athletes before. It does explain about some of the weird bonking stuff that I have when I'm working out. So I'm kind of excited to get this dialed because I think it will actually lead to some performance improvements for my working out, which is great.
Yes.
But I'm trying, I really want to stay off medication, and I'm less than half a point away from being a type 2 diabetic. So it's
that is close, huh?
Yeah, I'm super close. And I'm like, gosh, so I got a book called Diabetes Code, and he was it's basically about natural ways to stay off medication. And it's interesting because he's saying doing the 16-8 intermittent fasting. So they used to think, and I was told when I was younger, because I had hyperglycemia, which apparently often leads to diabetes. So that makes sense then, because I've had that since I was 17, 18. But they would told me to eat lots of little meals all day long. Yeah. Turns out that's the wrong thing to do. And so, because it builds up insulin resistance. And so now they're saying fast. So now I'm only eating in an 8-hour window every day, which is interesting.
I've tried that before. It's nice when you can get it dialed in, but it seems like you really have to choose how you want to, well, I guess it's easier in a pandemic, but for me, I ran into... It's way easier in a pandemic,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like if I wanted to have dinner with my family, then I would not have an early breakfast.
But then the early morning workout. So that's what I'm kind of playing with right now. It's it's a little easier right now because my schedule is 10 to 6. And so of eating. And so, I won't eat till 10 this morning, but then I'll do my workout kind of on my lunch break from work. So I'll eat at 10 and then I'll go work out around noon. So that seems to be working right now. But, and I maybe do a strength workout fasted, but I'm not ready to go for a run or a ride fasted. My significant other will go ride 50, 60 miles fasted.
Wow.
But he's a weirdo. So we don't have the same. And the other thing is, no more red vines for your girl.
No more red vines. Sorry, red vines. We're not picking you up as a sponsor.
So sad. Josh has them still. And, of course I see him eating them and I'm like, son of a bitch.
Lindsay, if you're going off red vines, I will say this now. I will go off red vines too.
What?
Yes. You heard it here.
Oh my gosh. That's such a sacrifice, Mike. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure, because I got to drop a few LBs as well. I've gained that COVID-19.
Oh no. Okay. Okay, folks. We're dropping the red vines.
We're dropping red vines.
So I've dropped all added sugar, basically. I'm not,
that's commitment.
Well, I used to go through these periods of not eating sugar for vanity's sake or because I had body image issues. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I'm not eating sugar. But it's different when, my doctor broke down why I needed to. And then I'm reading this book and he's going into the science of what's happening in your cells on a cellular level if you are pre-diabetic or diabetic and eat sugar. And so it's a little easier Because I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
before I looked at a red vine as something that I wanted to have but shouldn't have because I'm trying to not get fat. Now I look at a red vine, I'm like, that's going to do all this stuff inside my body that could shorten my lifespan. You know?
Yeah, it makes it a little more serious.
Yeah. So red vines are being relegated to the same shelf as cigarettes and booze for me, which is where I'm like, so long, old friend.
Yeah.
You are no longer, you were a friend of me, and then you became just an enemy at this point.
Yeah.
You went from
It's been
friend
real,
to
red
frenemy
vines.
to enemy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's so I, if there's age groupies out there, I'm sure there are that are, have type 2 or have pre-diabetes. I'd love to hear, from you about, or even do an episode with you about managing nutrition, on a longer race, for example, like just on an Ironman distance maybe, or half Ironman, and also just sort of what you're doing on a daily basis to keep your numbers down, to stay off medication and whatnot. Because what my doctor said to me was like that the medication does its job, but it has all these unintended consequences and side effects that are not positive.
Well, maybe I'm wondering if, UCAN being the stable blood sugar inducer that it is the way to go for you. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. I mean, I use UCAN and I like the bars. And I think one of the reasons that I've just naturally liked that stuff is because unbeknownst to me, I was having these wild swings in my blood sugar and having issues, being so close to the line for diabetes probably means when I would eat some of the other sports nutrition, whatever, I would cross over into that, line. And so I sort of naturally gravitated towards like a UCAN because I just felt better. You know what I mean? Like, especially like with the bars, if I want to eat a bar, I'd eat a UCAN bar, but it's like, I wouldn't feel bad. Like I would eat some other bar and I'd feel horrible working out. Like I can't do goos or any of that stuff. Like, and I think, so I'm, my goal is to, figure out the nutrition, but I've since getting this diagnosis, the only thing I've used like on my bike rides or whatever is the UCAN in my bottle. And it seems to be okay.
UCAN. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a good thing they're sponsoring us.
It is a great thing. They are a show sponsor. Yeah. So we're going to have Matt Bach back on the show very soon.
Yeah.
And break it down, how to use UCAN during a race and how to use it during training. And maybe he'll give some ideas of how, our diabetic age groupies can use it. If that's any different, it might be the same. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I think that would be really good to do and discuss. Just because, for me, it was kind of disappointing to get that. Like, I knew my mom had this diagnosis, but she was not at all overweight, but she was someone who didn't work out. Like, she's into crafts. You know what I mean? When that's on her time off, it's like she's painting stuff. She's not. And, she had to start walking every day. So in my mind, it's like, well, I'm endurance athlete, so I'm good, And about 5 years ago, I had a blood test done for a different reason. And at that point, I was like really close to being pre-diabetic. And I was like 1 point away from being pre-diabetic. And the doctor at that point said, don't stop doing what you're doing or you're going to be pre-diabetic or diabetic. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't stop doing what I'm doing, but it happened anyway. So it was disappointing, but
it's like Charles Darwin said, genetics are a motherfucker.
Oh, fucking A, man. For real.
Yeah.
For some of us have the genes where we're just like, I just thought I would try, racing, and like I did one and I won, and then I like did an Olympic and I won, and then I like went to like an Ironman and I just couldn't believe it. I like qualified for Kona and I never get injured and I'm fine. Some of us have those genetics, and then some of us are practically diabetic and using a face mask at night. But whatever.
Yeah. And some of us get sunburn if there's a full moon. So there's that.
Some of us are vampires.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know it's time for you to go feed the children.
Feed my little niños. Yes, I can hear them clambering downstairs.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a hodgepodge, guys. I know we didn't talk. We talked a little bit about doing sports and, talked about a little bit of everything.
Sometimes we got to keep it real. We gotta talk about what's really going on. And we try to do that each week, but we get into really what's going on in our lives, and hopefully, if you guys can relate to some of that, you won't feel maybe as alone. If you're struggling to work out, guess what? So are we.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're all in it together, and
all in it together.
The name Age Groupies is meant to evoke, regular people doing endurance sports as a lifestyle, not like your elite athletes who have that natural, unhuman physiology. So we're all in it together, and go check out the Age Groupies Club on Strava. And we will, one last quick thing. There's going to be another episode next week, a new episode. And then there's going to be 2 weeks of no episodes because Mike and I are I'm taking my first break from weekly podcasts in 2 years, although I've obviously had some breaks where Mike just did them. And Mike is taking his first break in a year and a half. We've never not done a podcast. So we're going to take a 2-week break, and we'll post about that on social media so you guys know. But we're going to celebrate the holidays with our families and just rest and recover. Woohoo! Okay, I think we did it.
All right, take care.
Bye. Alrighty, that concludes today's episode of the Age Groupies Podcast with me, Lindsay Hiken, and my co-host, Mike Ergo. We really hope you enjoyed it. You can follow the show on Instagram at Age Groupies, join our Age Groupies page on Facebook, and look us up by name, Lindsay Hiken and Mike Ergo on Strava. If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas, feel free to email us at agegroupies@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, as this really helps us get more exposure while we try to grow this little venture. And of course, if you have friends you think might like the show, please be sure to share it with them. But for now, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.